Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the open session of the Board of Education regularly scheduled meeting. It's nice to see everyone in the light of day. The time is 3:09. I'd like to start with saying there's nothing to report from closed session. Call to order. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Here.
Mr. Sung?
Present.
Ms. Lamb?
Here.
Mrs. Ryan is here and will be here momentarily. And Mrs. Gill here. Thank you. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone will please stand. Place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Do I have an approval of the agenda? A motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lamb and Mr. Chang. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
And Mrs. Gill, aye. Do I now have a motion to approve the 5/26/26 Board Budget Study Session meeting minutes?
I move to approve May 26th special meeting minutes.
Thank you. Second, please. Anyone?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryan. Roll call, Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Abstain.
Thank you. Ms. Ryan?
Aye.
And Mrs. Gill, aye. Do I have a motion to approve the 5/26/26 regular board meeting minutes?
I move to approve
Thank
May
you.
26th.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
And Mrs. Gill, aye. Item 7, public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323 to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have 3 options to submit public comments. 1, submit through an online form. Do we have any online form submission?
We had no submission today.
Thank you. 2, request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Mr. Huang, please pause the meeting for 1 minute to collect public comments.
The 1 minute starts now. Communications from the audience regarding matters not on the agenda or items in the information, consent, or action sections. Please provide your comments now. If you would like to request to speak during the meeting, please press the raise hand icon to make a request. If you're calling in from home, please dial *9 or please submit a public comment card. There are 35 seconds left. We have 1 attendee wishing to speak.
Thank you. Go ahead.
All right.
Just a reminder that public comment requests are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker.
Carla?
Yes,
You've been
I'm
given
here.
permission. Please state your name and your address.
My name is Carla Alcibar, 2410 Mission Street, San Marino, California.
Thank you. You have the podium.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Carla Alcibar, as I said, and I am a parent, a business owner, and a resident here in San Marino. I'm here to speak about ed tech in our schools. I recently started a petition to get an understanding of how many parents felt the same way I do, and just wanted to know if they had the same concerns as me about the technology use in our classrooms. So we had a lot of parents concerned, and there is a good amount of parents who feel the same. One of our points is the iReady class action lawsuit. We want to know, since we use this in our school, my child is at Valentine Elementary. A lot of the parents we know are kinder and TK who use this program, and we wanted to hear from our school board and leadership if they can still vouch for this program and guarantee our kids' privacy. Another point is we want to really start the conversation about if the technology use in our class is appropriate for our young ages, especially TK through third. Seeing as how currently tech is starting to scale back in some prominent regions like Sweden, Finland, France, and the UK, and even in some states, and even in our close neighboring district, LAUSD. There's a lot of information starting to come out, and I'm not here to give a lot of stats, but there are a lot of studies being done and about the effects that it could have on young children and young minds. So we wanted to let the school board know that there is a group of parents who are concerned and want to start the conversation about possibly opting out of technology use, reducing it, and in some grades, eliminating it. I have a kindergartner, as I said, in my personal experience as a mom this last year, had some ups and downs as my child had some issues, all centered around iPad use. And I've spoken with our school leaders, principal, vice principal, and counselor. And as of now, they let us know that there's not an opt-out policy and to reach out to our school board. So that's why I'm here today. So I just wanted to overall say that we have a group of parents who are concerned and wanted to let our feelings be known. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder, the Brown Act prohibits us from actually responding to questions, but topics can be put on an agenda at a later date. The next person who has a comment is Chris Green, 885 Sussex Road, San Marino. Please come to the podium.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here to support Carla, what she was saying. It's the issue of the technology I support it. I know we're going to keep going in this direction. I'm a new parent to the system with one kindergarten son at Valentine. And there's significant data on both sides of the argument, and it'll probably improve. The software will probably improve, but it does seem to not be completely clear that if it's a bit of a gamble, that there's possibly not as much upside to be gained as potential downside. Much like we saw with smartphones and social media that we kind of rushed into, a lot of things surprised most of us, including myself, of some of the negatives that have come out after 10 to 15 years of the research and that data. And education technology is a little bit like that, where we don't have a long track record of it. And so we're seeing more and more building on both sides. But just the fact that there is enough from the negative side of it, it's worth consideration that it could be worth more caution as it's implemented, especially with the young kids. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments, and we will move on to our public hearing. I would like to turn it over to Dr. Lena Richter to conduct a public hearing on the 26-27 school year proposed local control accountability plan.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, and Executive Cabinet. In accordance with Ed Code 52062, this evening staff will conduct a public hearing for the proposed 26-27 local control accountability plan. This evening's public hearing notice was posted at least 72 hours prior to this evening's meeting in the San Marino Tribune, the district office, and the San Marino Unified School District website. Kwok, if you would please start the clock for 1 minute.
The 1 minute starts now. Communications from the audience regarding the proposed 2026-27 local control accountability plan. Please provide your comments now. If you'd like to request to speak during the meeting, please press the raise hand icon to make a request. If you're dialing in from home, please dial *9 or submit a public comment card. There are 35 seconds left. We do not have any attendees wishing to speak.
Thank you, Kwok. Thank you. That concludes the public hearing on the local control accountability plan. And thank you for all your work on that, Dr. Richter. My pleasure. That really essential document. Now I would like to turn it over to Dr. Stephen Choi to conduct a public hearing on the 2026-27 proposed district budget.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the board, executive team, and SMUSD community. Mr. Huang, go ahead and please start the 1-minute timer. The Board of Education is conducting a public hearing on the proposed district budget for the 2026-27 school year. This hearing provides members of the public with an opportunity to share their comments on the proposed budget. If you wish to address the board on this item, please submit a speaker card or raise your hand on Zoom to make a request to speak.
We have 30 seconds left. We do not have any attendees wishing to speak.
Thank you so much. This concludes the public hearing on the proposed district budget. 9, communications section. Communications from the Board of Education. We ask that no board member take more than 3 minutes to share. Mr. Chang?
As you know, the last week we have a full graduation from the Valentine, Carver, and the middle school, and the San Marino High School. I like to congratulate all the students to advance for another career, and also congratulate all the parents. Yeah, I know this take a lot of time and effort to raise the kid. Congratulations, and also we are school district appreciate their effort. We can work together and make children better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Mr. Sun?
Thank you. Yeah, so I attended 4 different graduations today. I mean, the last week too. It was really amazing that how kids accomplish their achievements and they getting to the next chapters. And I think this is the most biggest celebration in the school district, pretty much, right? And I appreciate everybody that we did a great job in this year, and I'm hoping for the next year that we're doing another cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lam?
Yeah, so like the executive team and the rest of the board, I also attended the graduation and promotion ceremonies across all 4 schools. And each celebration was a very powerful reminder of what really matters most, which is the students, their growth, and the strong community that San Marino is, because we keep showing up for them. And I wanted to comment also that in a time where screens are so constant and AI is rapidly changing everything in the world, how we learn, how we work, how we connect, the moments last week reminded me that we're still very deeply human. And being present, which is what President Gill's speech talked about during the high school graduation, is so important, and it matters a lot. Looking at each student in the eye, a handshake, a congratulations, cheering them for their accomplishments, listening to their stories, celebrating their growth cannot be replaced by AI. So that is still very deeply human and deeply important. So I do want to congratulate all the students. I want to congratulate the staff for bringing the students across that milestone, to all the teachers that have poured their hearts for the students, because everyone is a part of shaping their path and bringing them to this important stage of growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Ryan?
Yes, I just want to concur and offer my congratulations to all the promotions and graduations. Thank you, Dr. Wolf, for your wonderful speech, Dr. Delatorre, and President Gill. I thought that at the high school level, just poignant messages to our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryan. And I would like to give that compliment back for your middle school address. I think that was very poignant also for
Thank you.
the middle school students. I would like to thank cabinet, faculty, staff for a wonderful year. I feel like after having these last 2 days of our board strategic planning sessions, everyone already seems reinvigorated to start the new year. So it's just, goes to show how much passion we have for this district and the kids here. I'd like to congratulate Teacher of the Year, Scott Barton, and certificated member or Employee of the Year. Is that classified? Sorry, I always get them mixed up. Classified, Lisa Heron. They both go above and beyond in their roles, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you. As a board, we do contemplate a lot the use of technology and balancing that with the in-person connection and having the kids be offline. And it's a constant balancing act. And we are evaluating that always. We have amazing framework already that Dr. De La Torre has might go over. I don't know.
We do have limitations in place for screen use during the school day with grade levels TK through first grade, and they can only be on screens a maximum of 1.5 hours per week. So we do have boundaries and limitations as to the amount of screen time that our students can access during the school day. However, we are looking at the research, we're reading the research, we're sharing the research with the Board of Education, and we are certainly paying attention to that area and deliberating on whether or not we need to make some changes to our policy. So that is something that we are paying attention to and taking very seriously moving forward and into the next school year.
Thank you. And just as a board, we continue with our North Star is doing what's best for kids and having the district move even more in a student-centered direction. It's really important to us that every child feels seen and we respect that they each have their own path. So with that, I would like to pass it off to Dr. De La Torre.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the Board of Education. I, too, attended all of the graduation and promotion ceremonies and would like to compliment both President Gill on her amazing speech and Vice President Ryan on her wonderful, poignant speech at Huntington Middle School. Both of these lady leaders did a fantastic job really connecting with our students and sending a message of hope and inspiration and encouragement to them as they transition either to the high school from the middle school or to college, university, to careers, to the military, wherever their path takes them. They certainly have been set up for success by San Marino schools. I would also like to just begin this evening by recognizing the outstanding work that our Superintendent Student Advisory Council has completed. I worked with a group of approximately 30 students, grades 9 through 12 this year, and we educated them on how all of the departments in the school district function and work. We talked with them about board policy. We talked to them about the California Education Code. We talked to them about reforms and just all of these educational initiatives to really give them a better understanding of how things work in the school district. Then we sent them out to do some research of their own on a variety of subjects so that they could solicit the input of their fellow students, their peers, on subjects such as facilities. So students examine the condition and the functionality of our campuses and our learning environments with particular attention, of course, to San Marino High School. And they came up with recommendations and suggestions and did just a fantastic job on looking at what is working well at San Marino High School and where we might need to make some improvements. They did raise the issue of the near auditorium which interestingly enough, our Board of Education had already talked to staff about. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in terms of what we're doing to refresh the near auditorium and how that's going to look. We also had a group of students work on a food services research project, and those students conducted surveys and gathered peer feedback regarding the quality, accessibility, variety, and nutritional value of our food services program. So we received a lot of very valuable feedback there that we're going to be spending time talking about with our director of food services as we meet as a leadership team. In addition to that, we had a group of students who worked with Dr. Wolf on grading reform. So they did a survey of their peers, and they looked at grading practices, assessment methods, the relationship between grading and student learning, and their discussions highlighted the importance of transparency, consistency, and ensuring that grades accurately reflect student mastery. Which is really, really important to our schools and our students and our parents and to the mental health and well-being of all of our students. So we are going to be moving forward on really taking a look at how policy might help shape grading reform in the future. And then finally, students worked with career technical educational options and opportunities with career exploration. And they researched pathways that prepare students for both college and career success. And they discussed opportunities to expand awareness, and they looked at the current CTE offerings and potential future CTE offerings. And we are going to take that feedback and build on it. We're going to be sending a survey out to students at the middle school, high school. We're going to also send out a survey to parents to solicit their input and feedback on what career technical education pathways their students will be interested in, or those students will be interested in enrolling in and pursuing as a potential pathway. And then we will come back with that information and present it to the Board of Education for their deliberation discussion. And we will decide which pathways we are going to begin building out at San Marino High School with the help of our executive team and Dr. Lena Richter in particular, and Dr. Benjamin Wolf as well. So back to the near auditorium, we did have a request from our Board of Education several weeks ago to look at a refresh of the near auditorium. And so we are making plans to have, and this may have already happened, Dr. Wolf, I'm not sure, did that meeting get scheduled with Mr. Hernandez, the Director of Facilities, and you, because there's supposed to be a meeting, and Gil? Okay. So it is in progress, and we're going to get those people together in the same room to talk about it. We're going to be looking at replacing the carpet, painting the walls, redoing the steps so that is taken care of, and it's going to look a lot better and feel a lot better. And I just wanted to also say that we had a facilities advisory committee that worked together, appointed by the Board of Education, for over 18 months in this room to prioritize all of the projects that we were going to work on should Measure M pass. And air conditioning was not in the Tier 1. It was a Tier 2 project, not a Tier 1 project. So that was determined by the FAC, Facilities Advisory Committee, which is a very public process. And we focused on all of the Tier 1 projects, in addition to projects that were of importance in terms of safety, security, and infrastructure. So we needed to balance that. And some projects are maintenance projects, like we would consider the near auditorium, not really a bond project, but a maintenance project. This refresh. So we are bringing air conditioning to our gym at the high school, which has been in demand for decades. And we're so happy to be able to make that project happen. And hopefully someday we'll have enough money to be able to provide air conditioning to the near auditorium. But that project is going to have to be set aside until we can, see what we can finish with Measure M. And then we'll look at Tier 2 projects in the future. So that is all for me.
Thank you. I was remiss in a request from Mr. Chang. If you'll notice, Mr. Sung and I are wearing a new T-shirt that says "Leading in San Marino." please stand up and model the back? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is giving you a hint of exciting things to come.
Yes.
With, as it relates to our board goals. So, just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, 10, information items. Measure M update. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Stephen Choi to update the board on the progress and current standing of Measure M.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Gill, members of the board, Superintendent Delatorre, executive team, and the SMUSD community. Tonight, we have included 4 Measure M related items for your consideration and approval. These include fire hydrant testing at both San Marino High School and Carver Elementary, geotechnical testing to support the design of a new scoreboard at San Marino High School, additional portable classroom at San Marino High School, and underground utility location services at Carver Elementary. The utilities investigation at Carver is an important step as we continue to work in designing and evaluating the feasibility of adding a new student drop-off area on the west side of Carver's campus with access from San Gabriel Boulevard. In addition, we are establishing a dedicated phone number hotline that will be available throughout construction. This resource, in addition to our communications outreach, as well as our Measure M alerts, will provide residents, staff, and families with a direct way to report concerns, ask questions, and share feedback regarding Measure M construction activities, helping us maintain clear communication and respond quickly to issues that may arise. And with that, I'd like to now hand it over to Mr. Jim Burlew, who will provide some additional details and some of the project updates on Measure M.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. President Gill, members of the board, Dr. De La Torre, Executive Cabinet, appreciate the time to be up here today. So we have a lot of exciting things going on. We have started the demolition at Valentine Elementary for the playground today. So these are actual pictures. We will also be taking down the ball walls and the backstops that you see up there for the interim housing that will be going on the Valentine site as well. Today, the playground itself is about $781,000. That's where we're at Valentine. Oops. Which one am I hitting, Quack? That one. Okay, some of the other projects we have coming up this summer that we're about to do, we have the Carver Elementary, the playground shade structure itself. The total cost of these, we have a $552,000 PO with the Zoom Recreation, and we have one that's coming to the board for the contractor for about $198,000 at the next board meeting for the actual demolition of the tennis courts and everything else that's going to go there for the playground itself. San Marino High School, the athletic field, track and field, the demo will begin on Monday. So we have all the purchase orders in for the field, for the demolition, and for the track. So that's what those 3 numbers represent right there, those 3 POs. We do have the San Marino High School, the boys field house. The roofing itself will begin on the 18th as well. And the interim housing for the high school and Valentine, those 2 will begin after the board approval at the next board meeting itself. And our dollar amounts for those right there, we have the Will Scott totals of 173 and 217. The GC amount is to be determined because they're out to bid right now. So those will be coming in shortly. And then we are working on the next roofing phase. We just met with Garland today over at the high school. We're going to be working on these 3 projects over the next few months to get these out to bid and to talk to Dr. Wolf to make sure that we can get the schedule in and not disrupt the students on the campus. So this is our next step in the next couple of months. Right? So, any questions? We're moving fast. We're starting now. So,
Very exciting. Any question from the board about Measure M projects? Okay, thank you so much.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Great, and the community should check out the memo, which is with M in parentheses, for our Measure M. It has lots of updates, and it's easily accessible through our website. So check that out if you want more information. Okay, I would like to now turn the presentation over back to Dr. Choi, who will introduce FM3. FM3 will then present the results of the Measure E and Measure R consolidation survey.
Great. Thank you, President Gill, members of the board, executive team. At the March 10th, 2026 Board of Education meeting, Team Civics and FM3 presented several options for potentially consolidating measures E and R into a single parcel tax measure. Following that discussion, the board directed FM3 to conduct a survey to gauge community sentiment and assess the feasibility of pursuing such a consolidation measure. We are pleased to have Rochelle from Team Civics and Adam from FM3 joining us today. They'll present the survey results and share key findings to inform the board's future discussions and considerations. I will now turn it over to Adam.
Beautiful, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Choi. Thank you, President Gill, board members, Dr. De La Torre, members of the cabinet. Adam Sonnenschein with FM3. I'm going to take you through some results of the survey that we've recently conducted on behalf of the district, and then welcome your input and feedback. So everyone's on the same page in terms of the methodology of the survey. This was done April 25th to May 13th. So it just finished a couple weeks ago. We surveyed members of your community who would be considered likely to vote in the November 2026 election, and that's based on their past voting history. So these are people that vote regularly enough that we would expect that they will also come and vote in the November election of this year. Because the survey is done before this most recent June election, we're not able to factor that into the result, the calculations of who's likely to vote. We did 307 survey interviews, which means we have a margin of error of plus or minus about 5.5. So keep that in mind, and I'll refer back to that at a couple points in the survey discussion. We reached people a few different ways. We did phone calls with live telephone interviewers, calling cell phones and landlines. We also sent emails and text message invitations for your voters to take the survey online. They could do one or the other, right? Not both. And the online survey is protected, so each person who gets the link has one opportunity to take it. They can't, post it to Nextdoor or Facebook and have everybody take it and their friends take it. We've got a little bit of tracking data from past surveys we've conducted on behalf of the district from 2016, 2023, and 2024. You should know we offered this survey in English and Mandarin, and you might see something that doesn't quite add up to 100%, and that's because we've rounded decimal points. So starting with just some big picture attitudes, we asked people this question: do you feel things in local schools in the San Marino Unified School District are headed in the right direction, or are they off on the wrong track? You can see we've got a majority who would say things are headed in the right direction, and a good 5-to-2 ratio compared to those who think things are off on the wrong track. There's about a quarter of voters in the community that are not really sure how things are going in the schools, largely people that don't have kids in schools, or maybe they think some things are good, some things I'm concerned about, so I'm kind of in this mixed ground. But this is a very good ratio of positive, optimistic views in terms of the direction of the district. We also see some improvement here over the past couple years when we asked about the performance of the district overall. The text is probably a little too small for you to read from where you're sitting, but at the bottom you can see the actual question: do you think the district is doing an excellent job, a good job, only fair job, or poor? And we see a bump up in the excellent and good numbers to now 62%, up from where we were in 23 and 24. Back in 2016, there was a sort of overwhelming positive feeling. It's harder to get that level of excellent rating for any public agency these days. Everyone's a little more divided in their views, but you can see both a good overall number and improving from a couple years ago. So that's some context that leads us into thoughts about this potential ballot measure. We find that the best way to evaluate whether a measure has the potential for success is to give people a 75-word ballot question of the kind that could legally appear on the ballot and have them react to it in the survey, right? So we don't just ask conceptually, what do they think, but we ask, how would they vote if this ballot question was put in front of them? And so this is a way of describing the purposes of this measure. That would include the title in the bold there, so the San Marino Unified School District Quality Education Measure. We would give illustrative examples of how funding could be used, and to make it clearer to voters as they get into their research on these measures that this is a consolidation of E and R, these phrases that are used as illustrative examples are pulled almost verbatim from those measures, so that voters have a sense that these are continuations of those and not a new program. We also wanted to be very, very clear that you're not increasing existing tax rates. You're just consolidating these two measures. So that's our lead statement. Talking about protecting and maintaining quality education programs, classroom instruction. You can see some of the other examples there. The language that's legally required comes in the middle. Shall San Marino Unified School Districts measure to combine and renew their existing parcel taxes for 6 years, $1,499 combined, with senior exemptions, raising approximately $6.1 million annually. Then we can see we're also pointing out that there's some fiscal accountability here that's important to people, namely that there'd be spending disclosure that's required. Here's the initial reaction to this ballot measure. You can see it got 70% of the respondents said that they would vote yes, compared to 26 who would vote no. Only 4% who were undecided, which I have to tell you is a quite low number. Even for a local ballot measure of this kind, having 96% of people have an opinion on it right away speaks a little bit to your community, but also the nature of support that you have as a school district. So that 70% is above a 2/3 threshold. Any school parcel tax requires 2/3. It is within that 5.5-point margin of error, though. So we want to be mindful of that with the survey. We can't statistically rule out that if we had the opportunity to talk to every voter in your district, it could be 65% yes, it could be 75% yes, but we feel good about the standing at 70%. And as you'll see, when we provide more information to voters on the purpose of this measure and what it does, the support increases to an even more comfortable level. We also see, if we look at the degree of intensity with which voters either support or oppose the measure, a really nice ratio there. So we ask anybody who said they would vote yes, we said, is that definitely yes or probably yes? And if they said no, we said, is that definitely no or probably no? And if they said they were undecided, we're asking if they're leaning towards yes or leaning towards no. We have a really nice 53% who are definitely voting yes. First time they hear it, they're on board. So you have over a majority there. And about the percentage we would expect for any measure in a definitely no, which is about 2 in 10. Anything you propose, new money, no new money, you're going to find some people who are going to vote no. And 20% definitely no is usually about the lowest that we see. Just to give you a little sense of the broad support for this measure, we ask people to self-identify their racial or ethnic background. We see white voters very supportive at 71%, Chinese voters very supportive at 70%, and other API voters also even more supportive at 77%. And if you're curious, underneath each of these sections, you have the percentages of the likely voters coming from those groups, which is how we built our sample. So we would expect, for example, 38% of the voters in this upcoming election to self-identify as white, 35% as Chinese, 16% as from a different Asian Pacific Islander background. So our sample matches that expectation. We also see quite strong support from voters who have children or grandchildren in your district. That's the group on the far left-hand side there. They're supportive at 76 to 19. So the people who are most closely invested in the future of schools are very supportive. Those who have children who are not in your schools, or because they're in another kind of school, or they're too young to be in school. So some of your future customers there, they're at 77%. They're just as supportive. Some people who have older children who previously attended your district, they're supportive, not as much, but they're at 64%. And then voters that have no kids in schools, no grandkids in schools, they have no direct connection to the district. They clearly see the benefits of this measure and the fact that it's not a tax increase. They are supporting it almost as much as district parents at 72%. So the next thing we wanted to look at in this survey is how voters prioritize the potential uses of funds from the measure. We mentioned that in the 75-word ballot question, we tried to cite things that had been in E and been in R, but there's lots of ways you could describe similar things that you're going to do. And so we wanted to see, where do your voters tell us is the most important to them? So there's a couple slides on this question, which is essentially, regardless of how you feel about the measure, how important is it to you that funding from the measure be used in this way, or that this is a provision of the measure? The dark blue here is extremely important. The next one is very important. The lightest blue is somewhat important. There's some small amounts of orange for not too important and gray for don't know. First takeaway before you even get into any of the individual items, is how small the orange and the gray bars are, right? The not too important or don't know. Minuscule numbers. So basically everything that we said could be done with this measure, at least on this slide of this question, was at a high level of interest to voters in the community, not just your parents, but including those voters who don't have kids in schools, okay? Where we see a lot of the items that are more important to people have a lot to do with kind of big picture outcomes. And you could sense a sort of pride in the schools and the importance of the quality of schools. Maybe a little more so than the nuts and bolts of we're going to use it on this program or that program or this other program. But like the top item here, maintaining San Marino schools' academic excellence, 93% would consider that an extremely or very important aspect of this measure, right? We're not saying exactly how that's going to happen, but they want that outcome. Providing students with skills to be competitive in college and career. Then if I skip a couple, continuing quality instruction, maintaining quality education programs, keeping the district schools among California's best. These are all, to me at least, kind of big picture items. And then at the bottom, one that's a little more specific, retaining and attracting quality teachers and employees, right? A huge priority, as I can imagine it always has been in this district. And then if I go back up a few to the third and fourth items, that's where we're talking about some of the fiscal accountability again, right? We can watch the way the money is going to be used. It's only for our schools. There's a lot of mistrust among voters and throughout California. They vote for these measures. Where does the money go? How do I know it's really going to go where they say? Well, all the money has to go to San Marino schools, and there's ways that they have to disclose how it's all being spent. If we go to the second slide on the same question, here's where we start to see maybe a few more of the specific programs, right? So supporting advanced programs in math, science, engineering, and technology. Supporting student mental and behavioral health programs. You see preventing teaching position reductions, hands-on learning programs, honors and AP courses. These are all still very, very important to voters. I'm not trying to imply that they're not important because they're not on the first slide. These are still in the 80s and the high 70s, and you can see that the orange bars are quite low. But it seems like the outcomes kind of language, the big picture language, is just a little bit stronger. And then here are some that are still high priority, still 2/3 and above for almost all of them. But again, kind of the next tier in terms of the way voters are thinking of these ideas, supporting students with disabilities and learning differences. You can see this item about continuing senior exemptions, really important to voters who are going to have, who want that exemption, right? But maybe not quite as universal. You've got class size increase, prevention, counselors and mental health support, reducing the number of costly elections, combining and renewing without increasing existing parcel taxes. So a couple here that are pretty fundamental for why you want to take this approach that maybe is a little abstract for the average person. They're not really following how much an election costs you to do, right? But they know that they want to maintain high quality schools. So that's still important, just not quite at the same level. Okay. The next section is looking at what happens when we provide voters with information about the measure. So I mentioned that we had that initial level of support of 70%, and we like that level, but we like it to be even stronger for a 2/3 measure. And so we provided people with statements of the kind the district could be offering so we could get their feedback on what resonates the most with them and how does that impact their feelings on the measure. So a lot of words on these screens. I'm not going to try to read them all, but just give you a flavor for the themes that resonated the most and were most compelling. I've talked a bunch already about fiscal accountability. That's right at the top of the list. Keeping the district as one of the top performing unified school districts in the state. And you can see also that senior exemption element, right? Those three really, really resonated at high levels. This is a question of how convincing is it to you as a reason to support the measure. Dark blue is very convincing. These are all at 50% or above, very convincing. And if you notice the very or somewhat convincing is 82, 76, 81. Those are all higher than our initial vote of 70%, right? So in that way, we've have messages that are speaking to people that weren't already committed to voting yes. Some others that resonated fairly well, but not quite as strong, talking about preventing cuts, maintaining property values through high quality schools, explaining that you get one of the lowest rates of state funding of any school district. May be hard for some people to wrap their heads around why that is, although it's still convincing to 68% of people, just not as strong as some of the others. Class sizes specifically, good at 74, but not as strong again as some of the others. Lastly, in terms of some of the others here that resonated fairly well, saying very clearly that this is not a new tax is an important theme. We tried to explain the reduced cost aspect from not having as many elections. What we see is, in terms of the very convincing, that's not at the top of the list, but if you were to combine the very and somewhat convincing, that is a strong message. It's probably something that has to be in the package of things the district is telling voters, but it seems like maybe the first page of that is, this is our way of protecting the quality of our schools and maintaining San Marino as one of the top districts in the state. Okay. So the reaction from that, when we then re-asked the same ballot question a second time, is we reached 3/4 of voters who are in support of the measure compared to 23% who are opposed. Again, even fewer voters undecided, only 2%. So now, even with a 5.5 point margin of error, we still feel like the measure is in a good position to be successful, where if you tell your story and educate the community to help them understand why this is so important, they are with you at a really strong high level at 75%, again, for a 2/3 measure. We also wanted to be providing the other side, right? There's going to be potential opposition to this measure, and what happens when people hear the sort of standard claims that might come out from potential opponents, and then re-ask. What we find is the measure is still holding at 72%, even after that back and forth of information and opposition. So above the 2/3, it's kind of at the edge of the margin of error, but we feel pretty good at 72%, that this measure has a good chance to be successful. Now, the big contingency there is we've provided information, and Rochelle's going to talk about that next a little bit, but we've given people information about the measure, not just put it on the ballot and let people try to punch at it and here's the reasons to vote no. But we've actually explained what it's all about and what it means for the schools and the community. So a couple of survey conclusions. We think a measure to combine and extend 2 existing parcel taxes for the district is viable for the November 2026 ballot. It's got initial support exceeding the 2/3 and continued support when we simulate both information and opposition. There's also the chance that we could make that 75-word ballot question a little stronger, right? We can take some of the priorities from voters and enhance what we were mentioning in terms of some of those illustrative examples. I've been talking a lot about the importance of communicating the purpose and outcomes of the measure. And there are some really high priorities for large groups of voters. So maintaining academic excellence, providing students with skills to be competitive in college and career, continuing classroom instruction, keeping the schools among the state's best, retaining and attracting quality teachers and employees. These are all outcomes that matter to huge numbers of voters, nearly unanimously. In addition, the accountability provisions are also very important, making sure they know this is all money for your district, can't be taken by the state, they can watch how it's being spent, and the senior exemptions will continue. So I am happy to take any survey questions you have, and then I think I'll turn it to Rochelle to talk about next steps.
Does the board have a question?
First question, I may miss here about the sample size.
Yeah.
So what's the
Yeah,
sample
let's go back because it's the very first one. So it's 307 survey interviews. So that gives us statistically a margin of error of plus or minus 5.7%.
About the age composition?
How many Asian?
No, age. Age.
Oh, by age. So the results are going to be representative of the voting universe. I do have that here, and I'm happy to pull it up for you. So in your community, what we would expect in terms of this upcoming election is that 13% would be under the age of 30, 10% between 30 and 39, 14% between 40 and 49, 27% between 50 and 64, and then 35% seniors, 65 and over.
But among the surveyor you pick up, what is the age distribution?
Yeah,
that
so
the-
what I'm giving you, that's the distribution of that 307. That's the way it's so who's likely to vote and and the distribution of the survey are the same. So of our 307, 35% of those people are over the age of 65.
Mhm.
And I'm not fast enough with math to know what that number is offhand, but I guess it's about 100. And then there are 27% who are between the age of 50 and 64, and the remainder are under the age of 50.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. Get you up the head.
Good afternoon, members of the board, President Gill, Superintendent and Cabinet. Thank you for having me. My name is Rochelle Lewis, Senior Client Services Manager with Team Civex. It's been my great pleasure to work with the district on the last two renewals of Measure E and Measure R, and very happy to be working with you on this one. So this slide lays out, sort of the progression of our work, starting with the feasibility analysis, the voter survey results that Adam just presented, thinking through the election timing, what's the ideal election, what the tax rate would be in this case, keeping it the same, and what the political landscape would be in terms of receptiveness to the measure. Then we have at the same time been doing some non-advocacy communications. The superintendent and staff have been actively in conversation with members of the community, hearing feedback, hearing from folks that have been engaged in several of your last renewal measures. And though that point of, consolidating and saving resources was not the top priority of the voters overall, for many of those members of your community, that is a very appealing idea to be able to consolidate and have to renew over a longer period of time instead of every 4 years. So 4 to 6 years. So those communications have been going on and getting feedback. And we are in the process of refining a proposal based on the survey results that would then be part of a resolution that would be presented to the board should you decide to move forward. Refining the 75 words and the actual statement, tax rate statement, identifying the ballot argument signers for those 5 people that would appear in the ballot pamphlet that gets mailed to every home in support of a measure. And the actual documents that have to get filed with the county. What happens should the board then take action is really then a transition to volunteer campaign committee. So while the board could still continue to provide informational materials, still continue to do outreach, the actual advocacy campaign, of course, would have to be done all under an independently formed campaign committee to do all of the kinds of things that campaigns would do. There's one more slide. I don't know if you advance. Do I do it here? There we go. There we go. Next steps. So our recommendation would be, should the board wish to continue the community outreach that's been underway with lunch and learn events that the superintendent has been hosting, talking with PTAs, PTA affiliates, Chamber of Commerce, and other key stakeholders to ultimately potentially be brought before the board on the 23rd. We would also send an informational mailer from the superintendent that would outline what a proposal would do, and then that transition to an independent campaign committee. Well,
Any questions from the board?
any questions?
Okay, well, thank you for your very informative presentation. Team Civex and FM3. So at this time, I would like to hear from the board if you would like the board to direct staff to bring a resolution to our next meeting. Some thoughts? That next meeting, the resolution would be to approve placing a measure on the November ballot to consolidate measures E and R with no new tax increase. Would you like me to direct staff to do so? I'll take a vote then. Mr. Chang?
She like to asking though, should we get a vote to?
Yeah, but this agenda is information.
Well, I need to have board consensus to direct staff.
Can we vote
We
with?
can vote or we can just talk. I
information?
mean, I personally, following the data that was presented, I feel comfortable putting, directing staff to put a resolution on that the board can then vote on. So the vote that I was talking about was informal, just as far as agendizing it in a future action item.
A future
Oh,
action.
for a
item.
future.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
That's just information we're getting right now.
Right,
We're just
okay.
agreeing
So
for
we-
direction.
right, we have not reviewed. a
I think
resolution. We have not-
we can individually, we can express our
Yeah, exactly.
preference, yeah, but not to vote.
Okay, so
yeah.
no, but,
Yeah,
no vote.
right.
Take it back.
Oh,
Strike the record.
Chair, I have one question. Do we have a cost estimate how much is gonna doing that, the election cost?
So once we bring forward a resolution to the Board of Education, should you decide to direct us to bring one back at the next meeting, the campaign committee takes over and they raise money to hire the consultant and to pay for and fund the mailers that go out and to fund the campaign. So that's that is one of the reasons that we're looking at consolidation, because currently we're going out every 3 years because we have the two measures that overlap.
Yeah.
Each of our measures have a 6-year term, but every 3 years we're having to run these campaigns. It's very taxing on the community to have to come together. It's a lot of work and it's a heavy lift, and they have to pay for the consultant, they have to pay for mailing. They have to, knock on doors and explain what we're doing and why we're doing it, the necessity of it all. So it costs the district right now. We have a contract with Team Civics that the Board of Education approved, and I'm not sure what that cost is, but do you know off the top of your head?
I don't have the exact figure on top
We
of
can
my
bring
head.
that back to the board,
Yeah.
but we've already approved that contract.
Were
with
you
Team Civics
asking about
for the
what
feasibility.
an election costs?
Yeah, election, just like the last.
Yeah.
time. We don't want to get
Estimate.
surprised again.
So, yes, right. So we can tell you what we have paid in the past and the estimate that Dr. Choi got for the November election, because the November election has a lot of initiatives on it. And so we would be sharing the cost of the election with numerous entities. And so what was the cost?
We did receive an estimate for the November election, so we did secure that in
And how
advance
much
this time.
was it?
Um,
It wasn't that much.
It's
as I
it's a
recall.
combined election because there's also 3 board seats
Yeah.
that are part of that election as well. So
Over.
let me get that number.
I don't need the exact or anything like that. It's just.
We'll get you what we have.
So the latest estimate that I have for the November 2026 general election is $64,501.90.
And that's what the district would pay for the election for the registrar recorder's office. That's what we would pay. But the campaign committee has to raise money to run the campaign separately. Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
just because it happens to fall on a big election year, whereas sometimes it falls on a no election at all year, and
And we have a special
we have,
election.
and we have the full burden
Mhm.
of an
Oh, I
election.
see.
That's why we got the $668,000 bill.
We want to try to avoid that.
Yes, agreed.
So you still like each of a board member to share is,
I mean, you can
Comment.
share your opinion.
well, I think with this survey look like optimistic, yeah. So I think we should
Yeah.
do, yeah.
I think following the data,
Is it kind of close, right? So we gotta work harder, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
I do agree that it's close. It's within the margin of error.
Yeah.
But I was encouraged by seeing once people were educated about the measure that there was movement and positive movement. I know this community is really great at mobilizing and pulling together for our schools. So that is encouraging.
Should we make a decision soon to mobilize the campaign? Or-
Well, you have to have the board resolution
Yeah.
first, and then the board
I see.
pulls back because the board is neutral and not campaigning
I see.
if there's a resolution that is passed.
I see.
I make the motion to have I don't understand what we're doing. That's why.
Okay, at this time, we're in support of the idea.
Yeah, I know, but you're asking for a motion or?
No, I
you're
did
asking-
not.
No, no, no motion.
No, I'm not asking for either. I just wanted to have some discourse. I'm gathering we are aligned in having to provide direction to staff to please bring back a resolution to our next June meeting
Yeah.
to approve placing a measure on the November ballot to consolidate measures E and R with no new tax increase.
So we will bring a resolution back to the Board of Education as an action item for the June 23rd meeting, at which time we will be asking the board to consider the approving the resolution.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Benjamin Wolf to present an overview of the 2025-26 college acceptances to the Board of Education. Dr. Wolf?
Thank you, President Gill, members of the board, Dr. Delatorre, and cabinet. Before I start, Mrs. Gill, you mentioned Scott Barton, Teacher of the Year, and he just let me know that he did make it to the next round of 25 for the LA County
That's
Teacher of the Year.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I have the same presentation that I've given you the last couple of years with updated information on the colleges and universities that our students were accepted to and applied to this school year. We've added some new ones, so there are some newer schools that got a larger number of applications this year or a larger number of acceptances. So we have a couple of new schools to add to the list. Before we get to the data, here's just some of the actions that our counselors have been continuing, mostly doing a lot of information days and evenings with our students, bringing in college reps multiple times throughout the year, doing workshops on FAFSA, doing workshops on applications, doing workshops on essay writing, et cetera. All right. So here's this year added to our information about within California and without California public and private schools. So our attending rates at the University of California continue to go up a little bit each year. We're at almost 25% now of our students attending a UC campus. Attending rates for private schools within California have also gone up slightly each year. Attending private out of California schools, you can see has taken pretty decent jump. And then out of California publics stayed pretty much the same as last year, but that's still a pretty big jump from the past. We've talked to some students about that. Some of that has to do with the fact that there are some out of California public schools that have been in the limelight the last couple of years. University of Indiana is one of them. I'm sure that winning the college football championship has helped them get their name out there, even though they've always had an excellent business program. And then our community college rate, a little bit lower this year because the other four-year colleges were all a little bit higher. Here's the acceptances. UC acceptance, again, about the same as last year, but continues to rise from the last 5 or 6 years. Acceptance rates at California privates also has gone up. Acceptance rates out of California privates has dipped a little from last year. I think where we see that from is last year. If you remember, last year's senior class was an exceptional class. If you look at their scores from their junior year on our state test scores, we were essentially number 1 and number 3 in the state. So we did see a little, only a couple kids makes a difference, but we had a couple more students get accepted into some of the prestigious privates, and that accounts for that number. And when we get to the Ivies, you'll see that last year had an exceptionally high number. And then out of California public schools, again, not quite as high as last year, but really high. It's unusual that we see such a high rate for public out of California schools. And then here's the application rates. Again, so you can see the number of students applying to UC schools back up to where they were 2 years ago. The number of students applying to privates, a little bit higher than they were, but this data pretty much when you go over 3-year averages has been pretty steady, except for the out of California publics, which has gone way up. And so it is interesting to see that we have more students now who are willing to apply to public schools outside of California. And I think one of the reasons is that it's the difficulty in getting accepted into one of the top 3 UCs has just continued to go up every year for the last 20 years. UCLA, Berkeley, and now Irvine as the number 3 school are so challenging that we have students who hedge their bets and apply to some of the public universities outside of California. Here's our UC rate. The amazing thing is that we continue to be one of the highest UC Berkeley acceptances for a public high school in the state of California. It's been that I don't have the previous years, but if we go back and look, it's been higher than the UC average every year that we've tracked this data for Berkeley, which is amazing. And then you can see, quite frankly, every single other UC campus except for UC Irvine is above the UC acceptance rate. And I was curious about that last year. So we talked to some of the people to find out if there was a pattern that could be explained for UCI. Especially I'm an Irvine undergrad alum, and Irvine, because it's moved up, but it's not UCLA or Berkeley yet, a lot of students feel like it's a reach school for them. So we get students that apply to it that in the past would have never applied to UCLA or UC Berkeley, for example, and don't kind of recognize that Irvine has become that exclusive. And so we dip a little because we get more students applying, but we're not getting more students accepted. So it is interesting, especially because Irvine is one of the campuses with a medical school. And so a lot of our applicants are in STEM, and that's where it's hardest to get into the school. And then here's a variety of schools again. So you can see last year was quite exceptional for the Ivy acceptances. Last year's senior class really was a really, really strong class. This year's number was the same as 2 years ago. And then I'll just go through some of the highlights of the schools that our kids apply to the most. So you can see for Stanford, just as in most high schools, the number of students being accepted to Stanford is really small every year. Syracuse, we still have students that are attending. The percentage is about the same as last year for acceptance to applications. I'm sorry, Ms. Ryan, but we didn't have any Notre Dame acceptances this year. And I don't know how this ended up on the same screen as USC. Michigan, I'm always surprised by this, but again, I think Indiana is becoming like this too, but we have a lot of students that apply to Michigan. We had several students get accepted. Michigan is a very difficult public out of California school to get accepted to. And then of course you can see Berkeley, our acceptance rate there is just really high. And here's UCLA, which I'm really happy to see that this year's class actually did even better than last year when it comes to getting into UCLA, which is extremely difficult still. Ohio State, again, I think a lot of people have applied to Ohio State and Michigan over the last couple of years just because they've become so well known because of athletics. They're on TV a lot more than they used to be. Northeastern, we had a lot of students that apply. This year's acceptance rate was awesome. Not, never quite sure why for like this year, they took a higher percentage of our students, but that's a really high percentage. And same thing for NYU. We had more acceptances this year. Purdue's been pretty popular the last couple of years. We had almost as many students apply. And then obviously Caltech is extremely, extremely, extremely difficult to get in. Duke, we had our first acceptance in the last couple of years. And then Wellesley's, of course, really interesting because that's such an elite school and such a small school. And it's great that we had 3 acceptances this year for Wellesley. MIT, we had an acceptance, which is amazing because that's a really obviously very difficult school to get into. And then this is one of the other schools, the military academies is also what had changed that percentage because we only had, last year was really high with having 6 applications. So we had 3 applications this year and 1 acceptance.
Can you verify the student that get the MIT is also admit to the Caltech or not?
I'm sorry, the student that got accepted into MIT, what did they apply to Caltech? That I don't know, but I can find that out pretty quickly.
To look at the Caltech this year, look like it's go back to the circle. Yeah, we have a couple years, then we don't have a Caltech. I worry about because when they give the Caltech and then people still want to go to East Coast. in other school may
They didn't accept
lose the
It's just
interest.
zero
Well,
acceptance.
I mean, also when you look at the number of applications, I think our students recognize that it's not a school that they're taking a chance on and spending that money on because they know how difficult it is. Because I'm sorry, not the acceptances, the applications. We don't get a lot of students that apply because they know how difficult it is. But I'll find out for you whether it's the MIT student Caltech, because you have the raw data also, but I mean, I can look it up when we're done here and tell you pretty quickly. And then here's some new ones this year, so we don't have comparison, but we had a lot of applications and acceptances to Arizona State. We had a lot of applications and acceptances to Boston University. A couple more, Carnegie Mellon, we had a lot more applications this year and 5 acceptances, which is really good. And then there's Indiana. I didn't have that on there last year, but the number of applications to Indiana went up quite a bit. And you can see they took almost every one of our students. And yet only 2 decided to attend because they probably got accepted to UCLA and other schools that were their first choices. Northeastern, that's a really amazing acceptance rate, 39 applications and 28 acceptances, and 10 of our students are going to go to Northeastern. And then NYU, also 9 out of the 44. That's really good for NYU. I think that was the last one. Yep. And then there is a link to all of the raw data. So you can look up every single student that we got data from and which colleges they're going to.
Do we have this presentation?
Dr. Del Torre does.
Thank you so much. That's so informative, and we're just so proud of all of our students. Everyone works really hard at San Marino High School, no matter where they go to college. Thank you. Okay, now I would like to turn it over to Dr. Lena Richter to present the proposed 26-27 Local Control Accountability Plan.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Della Torre, and the Executive Cabinet. This evening it is my pleasure to present a brief overview of the proposed 26-27 Local Control Accountability Plan for the San Marino Unified School District. As you know, the Local Control Accountability Plan, also known as the LCAP, is a comprehensive database plan that outlines the district goals and actions for continuous improvement. So the purpose of this evening's presentation is just to present a brief overview of what our LCAP committee is proposing. I want to remind everyone that this is year 3 of our 3rd year for the LCAP cycle. As we know, the LCAP cycle is a 3-year cycle. And so this is our 3rd year out of 3. And as a result, our committee, since it is our last year and next year we'll be developing a new 3-year LCAP cycle, we're not going to see a lot of changes in the goals and the actions, only because we won't be able to measure them next year when we start developing a new one. However, the beauty of the LCAP is you have to have the 8 state priorities. So oftentimes you're going to see many of the same metrics from year to year to year and from cycle to cycle. I want to highlight some of the LCAP related student outcome data. Once again, review the LCAP adoption timeline and then bring it back on June 23rd with a recommendation for adoption by the Board of Education. As required by Ed Code, the public hearing requires 72-hour public notice. As mentioned earlier, we did post the public hearing notice in 3 different areas: the Tribune, the district office, and the SMUSD website. Adoption of the LCAP really requires 2 separate meetings from the Board of Education. The first one would be a public hearing, and then the second meeting would be the recommendation for adoption. And the LCAP always precedes the budget when presented and when adopted as well. And then lastly, the LCAP, along with the budget, the 26-27 proposed budget, must be adopted together on or before July 1st of every year. So I want to just highlight the fact that it is a lot of work. The LCAP really is a very comprehensive document that does require a lot of work. But I want to thank each of our members that participated this year in the LCAP committee. It seems like every year our committee grows, which is a testament to the work that's being done, not by me, but by the participants. I love this process because I have the opportunity and the platform to work and collaborate with students, with staff, and with parents and the greater SMUSD community. The students, Lena and Jaylee, really had an opportunity to elevate their voices in the LCAP committee each time they attended. And everyone on this list here, from parents to students to staff to admin, really engaged in productive dialogue and feedback and provided a lot of authentic input. And I'm very proud of the work that we did this past year together. One of the requirements with Education Code for the LCAP is that you include voice from your constituents, your community. And so as a result, we have our LCAP Educational Partners Committee meetings, but we also have our DLAC meetings, which is our District English Language Advisory Committee. And that committee is made up of parents of English learners because their voice is also critical in supporting the progress and the performance of our English learner students. And then also as a requirement, we do have to support systems and supports that help to design practices and programs that support students who may have an IEP. And so consultation is required. On the left, you see the dates that we met with our LCAP committee. In the center, you see the dates that we met and consulted with our DLAC committee. And then the consultation was held with the San Gabriel Valley SELPA on May 6th. And they actually did go through our entire LCAP and identify goals and actions that help support students with exceptional needs. So as I mentioned earlier, it is year 3 of our 3-year LCAP cycle. We began in 24-25. Every year, it is required that we do an annual update in collaboration with our LCAP committee, as well as our DLAC committee and our San Gabriel Valley SELPA. It does include the 8 state priorities, as I mentioned earlier, and those include things like school climate, parent engagement, parent involvement, student outcomes, student achievement, and so forth and so on. And it is inclusive of all student groups, and that's the beauty of the LCAP. So we are...
What is the 8 state priority?
The 8 state priorities are 8 priorities or 8 areas that the state has identified as being key to student success. So for example, parent engagement. We know that when parents are involved, students perform better. Engagement and achievement goes up. School climate, creating a safe and inclusive learning environment. Student achievement, making sure that we have a rigorous instructional program so that our students can continue to learn. And they have identified 8 of those.
Thank you.
And those must be included in the LCAP. That's a great question. And then year 3, which is coming up, we just did our annual update, moving into year 3. And then next year with our new LCAP committee, hopefully a lot of returning members as well, we'll be working on the development for the 27-28 LCAP, which will start a new 3-year LCAP cycle. So out of all of the goals and actions that we reviewed over these last 2 years, it was essential to keep all of them categorized into 3 main areas. The first one is exemplary teaching and learning. And this main goal focuses especially on student achievement, rigorous instruction, teaching and learning, programs and services for our English learners, and college and career readiness. How do we best prepare our students for college, acceptance rate, as Dr. Wolf just shared, and career. Goal 2 is all about safe and inclusive learning environments. And that really focuses on all of the supports that we have in place to create environments where students can thrive, academically, behaviorally, and socially. And that includes things like staffing, safe and clean facilities, instructional materials, professional learning, technology, and much, much more. And then the last goal is meaningful and authentic engagement. And that's all about climate and all about culture, is making sure our students are engaged, our parents are engaged. It looks at attendance rates, absenteeism, suspension and expulsion, social emotional learning, participation in after-school clubs and things like that. All of that would be in goal number 3.
So is a LCAP also focus on the special education or not?
Absolutely. And that was one reason when we go back here, as required by education code, we have to have consultation with our SELPA to make sure that we have services and programs that address our students who may have an IEP.
Just one time?
No, just consultation is one time, because during that consultation, they look at our plan annually, every year. They look at it. Yes, absolutely. That's part of the annual review. And they provide feedback. So when we're looking at our goal 1, which we also call priority 1, that's all about exemplary teaching and learning and really focuses on academic achievement. So on the left, you see many of the metrics that we have identified as our points that we want to measure, things that we look at year after year. And they are in no particular order, nor any particular font, whether they're bolded or not. And on the right side are the actions that the committee has identified to help support progress towards the goals that we've set with the metrics. And as you can see, there are quite a lot of them. We can add so many more things that we do here in San Marino because we do a lot, but these were the ones that they felt were the most salient. And then for priority or goal 2, safe and inclusive learning environments, that's really, again, all of the conditions that support learning. What do we have to build? What environment do we have to build that will be conducive to learning? And the metrics on the left side, again, in no particular order. And if you remember, that went from staffing to facilities to instructional materials to common core standards aligned instructional programs. And then on the right, all of the actions that they have identified to help support progress of meeting those goals in each of those metrics. And then the last one, meaningful and authentic engagement. Again, all about climate and culture. On the left side, you see the metrics that we have identified: graduation rates, attendance rates, expulsion rates, the climate survey, which we also known as Cal School Survey, our District English Advisory Committee, Wellness Center. And then on the right side, we have the actions, again, in no particular order, that support progress toward meeting goals that we've set in each of those metrics.
So this morning, the board retreat, we talk about the wellness center
about, excuse
So
me.
here they have a wellness center.
Yes.
Referral rate.
And I took copious notes because as we look at the LCAP for next year, when we start developing, that will be integrated in some of the work that we may want to do. So with that comes outcome data. That is the purpose of the annual review, is to really review the data and see if the actions and the metrics that we have identified have served effective in meeting our goals. Are we seeing growth or are we not seeing growth? And the purpose of the annual update is to change things if we need to. We're not going to continue implementing a practice or a program if it's not being effective. Now, I want to share before we start looking at this, the data that you see here listed for each of these, and then in parentheses, you see either the growth or the areas that we need additional focus on. This data, this difference is measured from our baseline data, from our 3-year LCAP cycle, year 1. That's 22-23 data. So when it's reported in the LCAP, they now would like to see the difference from year 2 all the way back to our baseline data, which is 22-23. Okay, so let's look at CASP. We know that when we're high performing, it's really hard to continue to maintain that and grow. But in San Marino, we strive to do that. So as you can see, we have the CASP scores for 25 school-wide. That's what SW stands for. Percentage of students who met or exceeded standards. We're still performing very high in both of those areas with a slight decline, not from last year, but from 22-23 data. Students with disabilities, same data, and you can see that they're actually growing when compared to 22-23 data. They've actually made some progress and showed some significant growth. Socioeconomically disadvantaged, these are students who are also designated in our system as low income. We have ELA and math. They did show some growth in math, but a slight decline in ELA. Again, I want to emphasize this is from data that's 3 years ago, 22-23 data. And then we see the same for our English learners. And we know for our SED and our English learners, that has always been an area of focus for us, and that will always continue to be an area of focus for us. ELPI is our English Learner Performance Index, how well they are progressing in acquiring English as a second language. And we're very proud of that work that they are doing because they actually grew 7%, 7.7, almost 8% since 22-23. CAST, I'm pleased to see that although we haven't seen a lot of growth in our CAST score since 22-23, it's a very slight decline. We're very excited about our new curriculum adoption in science, and we strongly believe that that's going to have a positive impact on how well our students are performing, not only on the state assessment, but in their day-to-day learning as well. Reclassification rate, these are students who were initially designated as English learners who have met the standards and the criteria to designate as English I need to be an English learner, English fluent. And so they have actually grown quite a bit. And that is a testament to the work that our teachers are doing to really prepare our students to be English proficient. So that's a 13.5% increase from 22-23. And then college and career readiness. This is the EAP, the Early Assessment Program. And this really is the California indicator for how well our students will be prepared for English language arts and math when they go into college. And in a nutshell, this is your 11th grade scores in ELA and math. That's what they look at. So we do see a slight decline. But again, I want to emphasize this is from data that's 22-23. And this is when we read the LCAP, this is what you will see because that's how they are requiring us to report it. AP pass rates, graduation rates, I'm not going to go through all of them. The last one are long-term English learners. That's the percentage of long-term English learners. English learners are identified as LTELs, long-term English learners, after 6 years. And so our focus last year was making sure, and it was actually required by the state that it be a goal in the LCAP, is to reduce the number of long-term English learners because the state found that English learners were not making the progress. They were staying designated as an English learner for years and years. And so we included it in the LCAP. So this and one more on the other sides are the only data points that doesn't go back to 22, 23 because this was added last year. So this is compared to last year's data. So from 24, 25 to 25, 26, we have reduced the number of long-term English learners by 2%. And that's great. That's again a testament to the work that our teachers and our classified staff are doing. So here we have outcome data for goal number 2. Fully credentialed and appropriately assigned teachers, we're at 99%. That's exemplary. Our facilities inspection tool, which is used to ensure that our facilities are safe and clean. All 4 schools, again, received the exemplary status, which is the highest status they can earn. Standards aligned instructional materials, we are at full implementation and continue to do that with curriculum adoption. Technology ratio, we are continuing to maintain Wi-Fi, 6 Wi-Fi access points. Professional development, this is an area that we strongly believe that we have really strengthened with our certificated as well as our classified staff. There is a lot of professional development that's going on, and this is just a handful of the ones that we have implemented these past years. Now on the right side, you see the Cal School survey, and this is a climate survey that assesses the perceptions of students, parents, and staff. And some of the questions overlap, although they are not exactly the same for each survey. And then the results that you see are actually very promising for us because we are seeing growth. So when you look at the first one, which is student culture survey, school connectedness, this is the percentage of students who agree or strongly agree that they have a strong connection to their school. So when you're looking at all of them, this is the percentage of either students, parents, or staff that agree or strongly agree with each of the questions that we have listed here. And as you can see, there's growth in the student survey, in the parent culture survey, as well as the staff survey. And before I move to the next slide, I want to say that this past year, and Dr. Wolf can attest to this, there was a very strong emphasis on making sure that this data from the Cal School survey, parents, students, and staff was shared with our school sites, because we know that the hard work happens at our school sites and making sure that our students feel safe, our students feel like they're connected to their school, as well as the parents and the staff. So they receive this data every year. They take it back to their school sites, they review it, disaggregate the data with their faculty, and then create goals and actions to support each of these areas. And then the last one is meaningful and authentic engagement. So the first one is attendance rate. And if you look at that, we overall as a school district, when compared to 22, 23, we grew over 0.5%, 0.65%. We are currently at 97.21. And then right below it, you have all 4 schools. And I wanted to make sure I included this. And you'll see an asterisk before each school's name because this was not done in 22, 23. So this is data compared to last year. And I'm very proud to see that Carver grew 0.04, Valentine increased 0.18, HMS 0.5, and San Marino High School 1.1%. So their attendance rates continue to climb, and we're very, very pleased to see that. We're also pleased to see that chronic absenteeism is continuing to decline. And this is one metric where we want to see a decline. Chronic absenteeism overall for San Marino is 3.2%. When compared to 2022-23, it's down 3.8%. And then they also break it down by grade span, K-12, and then 9-12. I'm sorry, K-8, and then 9-12. And again, we're seeing a decline in each of those grade spans, but look at the decline by school site. Carver went down 6.5, Valentine went down 4.2, HMS went down 0.5, and San Marino High School went down 7 when compared to 22-23. So we're very pleased to see that. Dropout rates for both middle school and high school remain at 0. We don't see a change there. Suspension rate has decreased or declined. We're very pleased to see that. The work with restorative practices and PBIS is really having a positive impact on the amount of students that we're looking at suspending. Expulsion rate remains, at 0. And our wellness referrals at the Wellness Center went up 1. So we're at 2.36. And again, these are unique referrals. So a student may have gone more than one time, but this just documents the time that they went, the first time that they went. And then again, we have the Cal School survey, we have the staff survey, as well as the parent survey for meaningful and authentic engagement. And again, we see positive growth for the staff survey, as well as the parent survey. There are areas, of course, that we do need to focus on to make sure that we're not seeing a decline, we're seeing growth. And that's the work that happens at our school site with the faculty and the administration. So with that brings us to our LCAP timeline. This is the timeline that really guided the work of our LCAP committee. We kind of delineated each meeting and what that was going to be. And tonight brings us to June 9th for our public hearing and information item. This item will be brought back with a recommendation for adoption at our next regularly scheduled board meeting on June 23rd. And then my role will be to submit it to the CDE prior to July 1st, 2026. And that is the end of my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Lena. I always love your presentations because they're very thorough, and it speaks volumes really in terms of that engagement piece that you demonstrated with respect to the parents and the staff. And then the attendance rate is absolutely wonderful. So, because it really just illustrates the engagement the students have relating to their learning, right?
Absolutely.
So that's what we're looking for. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And I am excited to see how our board goals really are in alignment with the LCAP goals. I think that just helps us all, as a board be more effective with our governance. So thank you.
Welcome.
And we'll look for that to come back at our next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Stephen Choi to present the 26-27 proposed district budget.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the board and executive team. It's my pleasure to provide a first look of the 26-27 proposed budget. And I want to emphasize that the proposed budget presented today is really a snapshot in time. And it remains subject to change before it returns to the board for adoption on June 23rd. However, today's proposed budget reflects our best projection based on the information currently available and previously shared during the May 26 budget study session. It incorporates the major components of the governor's May revision, including the additional COLA, the increase to the special education base rate, the updated pension contribution rates, and a wealth of other information that we received during the May revise. And I want to note that this budget does not include the salary adjustments associated with the tentative agreements that the board will consider for approval later today. And if those agreements are approved, we will update our projections accordingly and present revised figures on June 23rd. So with that context, let's begin by taking a look at the state's proposed 26-27 budget. And it has evolved from November through the May revision. At a very high level, one of the most notable shifts is where the state is allocating its resources. In previous presentations, I shared that California has historically roughly devoted 40% of its budget to K-12 education. And over the last few years, we see that health and human services has become the state's largest spending category. With the May revision, we are seeing that trend reverse now. K-12 education once again accounts for the largest share of the state's budget, reflecting a renewed investment in public education and a positive development for school districts across California. And that renewed investment is also evident in Proposition 98 funding, which represents the state's constitutional obligation to fund K-12 education. While the governor continues to use a subtle up mechanism that withholds Prop 98 dollars, overall funding levels remain strong while supporting increased investments in public schools. On this slide, along with the next one, you'll see that it's commonly referred to as the dartboard because it summarizes the key components for budget planning. For 26-27, the statutory COLA is projected at 2.87%, and the governor proposed adding an extra 1.44% COLA as an LCFF investment, providing additional support to school districts beyond the statutory COLA. And schools will also continue to receive grade span adjustments, including the transitional kindergarten add-on funding, which remains an important investment as districts expand TK programs. The second half of the dartboard highlights several important developments. We continue to see slight increases in the mandate block grant funding, and perhaps just as important, pension costs are beginning to stabilize. Current projections show CalPERS rates leveling off over the next several years, and providing districts with greater predictability and helping reduce some of the budget uncertainty we have experienced in the last recent years. Now let's take a look at what these state assumptions mean for San Marino Unified. This slide summarizes our key revenue assumptions and compares estimated actuals for 25-26 with projections for the next 3 years. The district continues to project enrollment growth combined with the updated LCFF assumptions and expected federal, state, and local revenues. We project approximately $62.8 million in revenue for 26-27. One potential revenue source not currently reflected in these projections is the proposed Student Support Professional Development Block Grant, or SSPD. The legislature has yet to finalize action on that funding. We'll know more anticipated on June 15th. So we have not included that in our revenues at this time. On the expenditure side, salaries and employee benefits continue to account for more than 75% of our total expenditures, which is typical for a school district. And again, these projections do not yet include the salary increases associated with the tentative agreements being presented later today. And if approved, those costs will be incorporated into the proposed budget update on June 23rd. Another trend worth highlighting is the reduction in projected equipment expenditures. You see, at this time, we plan to use potential SSPD funding, that's the block grant that we're waiting for, approval from the legislature, to help support and fund our student device replacement costs. Now, if the legislature approves those funds by June 15th, we will incorporate both the additional revenue and corresponding expenditures into the 26-27 budget. In summary, the current budget snapshot provides a surplus of approximately $2.6 million for 26-27. Again, the figure does not yet reflect the impact of the tentative agreements, nor does it include the possible SSPD funding that the legislature will decide. And as a result, today's projection should be viewed as a proposed budget update rather than a final budget picture. We will return on June 23rd with the updated figures and a more complete financial outlook. Now, this slide summarizes the components of the district's projected ending fund balance. As required, the budget includes a minimum 3% reserve for economic uncertainty, and most districts recognize that 3% alone is insufficient to address unexpected challenges, which is why most districts establish additional assigned and committed reserves to support long-term fiscal stability. The projected carryover balance currently appears favorable, although it will continue to fluctuate as we finalize the estimated actuals. The budget also includes a $2 million assignment for salary adjustments intended to support the off-schedule salary payment in 26-27. And in addition, the local reserve cap is triggered in the 26-27 fiscal year. So school districts must ensure their assigned balances and applicable balances in Fund 17 do not exceed the allowable threshold. It's 10% of the total budget. Therefore, the budget includes 5 committed reserves established with board direction and support, $2 million for enrollment and revenue stabilization, $6 million for fiscal stabilization to mitigate the impact of a future parcel tax non-renewal, $5 million for capital facilities and infrastructure, $1.5 million for instructional materials and textbooks, and $1 million for academics and program innovations. While the district's reserves are healthy and they offer fiscal stability, it is important to emphasize that these committed balances are one-time funds. For example, the $6 million fiscal stabilization reserve would not permanently offset the loss of ongoing parcel tax revenue should a renewal fail, but it would provide the SMUSD community with additional time to mitigate immediate reductions while making thoughtful long-term decisions. And these committed balances reflect a strategic approach to fiscal stewardship and help position the district to navigate the uncertainties that come with both state funding fluctuations and local revenue dependencies. In closing, I want to reiterate that today's proposed budget is exactly that, a snapshot of where we are today. And between now and June 23rd, we expect additional information from the state, including the final legislative action on several budget proposals and potential updates resulting from board action later today. We will incorporate these changes and return on June 23rd with a revised proposal for the board's consideration and adoption. Furthermore, once the budget is adopted, there will be several opportunities to revisit it and the multi-year projections throughout the year. I hope this information has been helpful, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Yeah, I have a question. If we can go back to this page, the one with the boxes, the green box.
This one?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for the textbooks, do we anticipate that we're just forecasting to remain constant? Like, we don't think that it'll probably go down in light of just less papers to push or less books?
That's a good question. So the purpose of a committed balance, and in fact, for all of these committed balances, is that it serves as a reserve, right? It's set aside so that when something unexpected or is needed for that purpose. So in the case of instructional materials and textbooks, you have 1.5 million set aside, right? But we always, as a general principle, when you're spending expenditures, you want to utilize all your restricted, your category dollars first. Then if you have to tap into unrestricted, and when you don't have enough, that's when you really have to dip into your reserves. So the projection is we don't anticipate dipping into these reserves according to this budget at this time. But should we need that in 26, 27, and it becomes used, then you won't see it in 27 or 28.
Okay.
I think we did discuss earlier in open session of the special meeting, how we would like more emphasis on academic and program innovations, shifting some of those reserves as we explore new CTE pathways or other programs at all school sites. They may need some capital funding to get things off the ground prior to having them really up and running. So that I would like some of that textbook money and perhaps the capital facilities to drop into the innovations. I do really appreciate, and I think it's very fiscally sound to have the reserves for capital facilities and infrastructure reserves so that as Measure M funds, if they run out, we don't have to go back to the public, and we have a little bit of a cushion to complete the projects that were begun. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you're transparent in terms of what you're projecting out here. And it is a challenging task to anticipate line items and how we anticipate where the growth might be, where the money might come in or be held for a period of time and it doesn't come from Sacramento for a period of time. And these are just placeholders, right? I mean, we're just making sure that we're doing what the board has asked of our school district in previous years and previous boards ahead of this one. But we really were told by the community to be fiscally sound with what we have and to be really strategic in what we're doing. So that's why there was such a meticulous look at how we went out for the bond, how we're overseeing it, how we're spending the money, and that we are responsive to the community that did the study, that looked into this, that brought this forward, as well as I am so grateful that our cabinet remembers the direction of the community when they asked us, right? Why are we looking at pink slipping? Why are we looking at this? every 2 to 3 years. And I remember the first couple of years where we were always scrambling before COVID and before other things. And not that I'm grateful for COVID, but I'm saying that gave us an opportunity and time to kind of really look at what we were doing with one-time money, and I'm telling you, other school districts that did not follow this is not in the same place that we are. And I am telling you this because we talked to a lot of board members across California, and it is true. And so it is absolutely imperative that we are sound, we are fiscally responsive to our community, but also to the children. I mean, we are here for the children. We are not here because, for whatever, personal reasons or who screams the loudest. We need to make sure that we uphold our fiduciary responsibility in making sure this is steward in the right way. Okay, so thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Dr. Delatorre. Thank you. President Gill.
Thank you.
Joseph,
Mr.
I've already
Mr. King, you
spoken.
look like you're about to comment.
Joseph, I've already
No,
spoken.
okay.
He has more than 3 minutes left. Do you have
Nope,
3 minutes?
Nope.
I take too many. Much.
Okay, then I think we will bring that back for the next meeting. Thank you so much, Dr. Troy.
Next week, he's going to have another update, right? 2 weeks from now, the next meeting. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Choi to present a first reading of the school facility fees justification report and resolution number 14 at the next reading to increase statutory residential and commercial industrial school impact fees, which are developer fees, for school facilities.
Thank you, President Gill, members of the board and executive team. So this afternoon, we are presenting the first reading of the school facility fees justification report and proposed resolution number 14, which would update the district's residential and commercial industrial school impact fees, commonly known as developer fees. As a reminder, state law allows school districts to adjust developer fees when the state allocation board approves its biennial inflationary increase. Most recently, the state allocation board approved an increase to the maximum level 1 fees in January 2026. Before a district can adopt these updated fee levels, state law requires the completion of a school facility fees justification report, often referred to as a fee study. In working with school facility consultants, the district completed this analysis to evaluate the impact of future development on our schools. The study confirms that the proposed fee increases are fully justified based on projected enrollment growth and anticipated facility needs. Specifically, the study supports increasing the residential developer fee from $4.79 to $5.38 per square foot, and the commercial industrial developer fee from 78 cents to 87 cents per square foot. As required by law, the public notices have been posted, and the fee study has been made available for public review. At our next board meeting on June 23rd, we will hold a public hearing before the board considers adopting resolution number 14 to increase the proposed fee. This item is being presented tonight for information and as a first reading only. I will be bringing this fee study and resolution back for approval at the June 23rd board meeting. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So the fee calculation also including for ADU, right?
Well, it's a very formulaic study. Takes a number of data points into consideration in working with the school facility consultants. They developed the study with the outcomes in support that our study justifies the fee increase. But your question about whether or not developer fees apply to ADUs, it applies to certain ADUs that are over 800 square feet. ADUs that are less than that do not get the school fees applied.
So doing the math, what is the number we're looking at in terms of the square footage times point? Like
Pages of the packet.
It's already on the packet?
I'm just wondering what page is it of the packet with the fee study?
Like it's already shown us there? Okay, I'll look.
No, I would love to bring that
So
up.
in the justification report,
Yes.
if you'd like to bring that up, Mr.
Yes,
Wong,
please.
it's on page 25 of 31. It provides a nice summary of what the projected revenues would be for this developer fee. And you can see that the projected revenue from new development is a little under $500,000. And that is over the course of a 5-year period. So depending on, and these are based on projections, based on their studies, the report also reported an estimate of approximately, I believe it was 80, it was about 80 projects here.
Did you say page 25?
It was on page 20, on the PDF is 25 of 31. And on the report, it is page 21 of the report.
There it is. There it is.
There's a table there, actually, if you scroll up a little bit. There you go.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah, thank you.
And you can differentiate the need for this versus our Measure M projects, right?
So it serves different purposes, yes. So for funds and revenues that are generated through developer fees, it's meant to address a growth, right? It's meant to address when residents or businesses move in and they're expanding their square footage. The formula and the study shows that there would be an impact to the school district. So they have a ratio of the number of students that would grow based on that square footage. And while the revenues don't fully cover all of the costs necessary to support that increased capacity, it covers a portion of it. So in fact, the $5.95, it's a formula where it shows, I believe they say the cost attributable to future residential development is $24.96 per square foot. But the maximum developer fee that we can charge for these residential development projects is only $5.38 per square foot. So it doesn't necessarily cover all of the costs associated with increasing capacity, but it covers a portion of it. And we currently charge $4.80. Let's see, what was our current rate here? It was $4.79 currently, and that has been in place for the last 2 years. So the last time that fee was updated was about 2 years ago.
And that's across all schools. It's not like
It's across the state.
expansion.
It's across the state of California. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have questions?
Anyone else?
Josh? Anyone?
Okay.
Joseph is speechless.
Consent section. Do I have a motion to approve consent section 11A through 11K?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, Mrs. Ryan and Ms. Lamb. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
And Mrs. Gill, aye. Thank you. Moving on to action items. Number 12, I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Jason Rose to present the San Marino Teachers Association tentative agreement to the board for approval.
All right, thank you and good afternoon, President Gill, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Delatorre, and Executive Cabinet. I am pleased to announce that we have reached a tentative agreement with the San Marino Teachers Association, our CTA bargaining unit. First and foremost, I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the SMTA negotiating team, as well as our district's negotiating team for their hard work, dedication, and collaborative spirit throughout this entire process. Reaching this tentative agreement required a great deal of effort, patience, and understanding from both sides, and I am grateful for their commitment to finding common ground. We are very proud to announce that we have agreed on a 2-year agreement. For the 2026-2027 school year, this would include a 4% increase in salaries for all certificated employees. And additionally, prior to the 4% increase, there would be a one-time off-schedule payment of 5% to be distributed to all certificated employees who are employed prior to September 1st in recognition of their hard work and dedication. And then likewise, for the 27-28 school year, there would be a 3% salary increase and also a 3% one-time off schedule that would be paid before the 3% increase took place. In addition to the salary adjustments, we also clarified and fine-tuned language regarding the workday, teaching hours, adjunct duties, reimbursements, and leaves of absence. And we also discussed health benefits and stipends. And what may be most exciting to everyone involved, especially our community, is we have agreed to academic calendars for the 2026-2027 school year, 27-28 school year, and 28-29 school year. So we believe this tentative agreement represents a fair and balanced outcome for both our certificated employees and the school district. It acknowledges everyone's hard work and dedication while ensuring that we can continue to provide quality education to our students and remain fiscally solvent. It is recommended that the board approve the tentative agreement between the San Marino Unified School District and the San Marino Teachers Association, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Jason, thank you for your work on this and for the work on the committees, from the committees and our teachers as well as classified and certificated staff.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I am so appreciative of all of the teachers and the classified. I mean, I hope that they understand that we do appreciate and value them immensely, and they are the backbone of our district. So on the front lines every day with our kids. And thank you, Jason and committee, Dr. Choi, Dr. Richter, for all your hard work on this. And I think there are no questions because you guys did such a great job. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
And well done on the 3-year calendar. It's like amazing. So do we have
On
a
to the next one? Just,
yes.
oh, we need to.
Okay, at this time, is there a motion to approve the San Marino Teachers Association tentative agreement?
Move to approve.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mr. Sung,
Aye.
Ms. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Gill, aye. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Rose to present the California School Employees Association, CSCA, chapter number 120, tentative agreement for board approval.
All right, thank you, President Gill. I am also pleased to announce that we have reached a tentative agreement with the California School Employees Association, Chapter 120, our CSEA bargaining unit. Just as I did with the SMTA, I want to acknowledge the CSEA negotiating team, in addition to our negotiating team. This was a successor, which means that all the articles of the contract were open, so we went through every single article. I believe there's 27 of them, so we went through all 27. So it was very collaborative, and both sides got along well. And so congratulations to their negotiating team as well as to ours. And we are proud once again to announce that we have reached a 2-year agreement. The same what's the word? Salary increases as mentioned earlier. So for the 26-27 school year, it would be a 4% salary increase with a 5% off schedule. And then for the 27-28 school year, once again, there'd be a 3% salary increase and a 3% off schedule. And like I said, we went through every single article, so there are some adjustments to the language in the rest of the TA. And so it is recommended that the board approve the tentative agreement between the San Marino Unified School District and CSEA Chapter 120. And then once again, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this TA.
So for both of agreements, it's a 2-year agreement, right?
Correct.
So mean in the future, you guys will have nothing to do. Save a lot of time.
Oh, I wish that was so. I wish that was true, Mr. Chang. I wish that was true.
But is that in the future, if there's they think they have something want to.
So when you have a multi-year agreement, it is possible if both sides agree. So if there's something that would come up, and both sides agree to go to the table, we can still go to the table and discuss. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for navigating that very complex process as I learned more about it this year. Do I have a motion to approve the California School Employees Association CSCA Chapter 120 tentative agreement?
So move.
A second.
Thank you, Mrs. Ryan and Mr. Chang for your second. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill? Aye. And that's it. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to turn it back to Dr. Jason Rose to present the management and administrative confidential and unrepresented tentative agreement to the board for approval.
All right, thank you, President Gill. We have one more for you. I'm also pleased to announce that we have reached a tentative agreement with the unrepresented, confidential, administrative, and management employees. As a standard practice in the San Marino Unified School District, our unrepresented, confidential, administrative, and management employees receive the same salary adjustments as our two bargaining units. And so, once again, we are proud to announce that we have a 2-year agreement for 26-27 with a 4% on schedule, 5% off. And then for 27-28, a 3% on schedule and then 3% one-time off schedule bonus. It is recommended that the board approve the tentative agreement between the San Marino Unified School District and its unrepresented, confidential, administrative, and management employees.
Any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve the management, administrative, confidential, and unrepresented tentative agreement?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan?
Aye.
Mrs. Gill? Aye. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
D, tonight the board is considering the recommended approval of an amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement. Government Code Section 54953 requires the board, prior to taking final action, to provide an oral summary of a recommendation for approval on the salaries, salary schedules, or compensation paid in the form of fringe benefits of a local agency executive during the open meeting in which the final action is to be taken. Therefore, I am providing an oral summary of the amendment that is being recommended this evening. 1, Dr. De La Torre's annual salary as set forth in paragraph 4.1 of her employment agreement shall increase by 4% effective July 1st, 2026. 2, Dr. De La Torre's annual salary as set forth in paragraph 4.1 of her employment agreement shall increase by 3% effective July 1st, 2027. 3, in addition, Dr. De La Torre shall receive a one-time payment in the amount of 5% of her 2026-2027 annual salary. 4, in addition, Dr. De La Torre shall receive a one-time payment in the amount of 3% of her 2027-28 annual salary. 5, Dr. De La Torre's employment agreement will be extended by 3 years. The new term of agreement will be through June 30th, 2030. The remainder of the superintendent's employment agreement shall remain unchanged and in effect except as otherwise fully amended. The proposed salary increase and one-time payment are consistent with the increases in payments to other unrepresented employee groups, including management, confidential, and supervisory employees for the 26-27 and 27-28 school year. Do I have a motion to approve the amendment to the superintendent's employment agreement?
President Gill, I thought we were going to discuss it after we had met with Dr. De La Torre. No, after Linda left, we didn't discuss it.
Okay, so would we like to table this and resume closed session
No,
afterwards?
it's just gonna take 2 minutes.
Okay.
You voted and I wasn't there.
You were there.
I said we needed to talk to
Okay.
Linda and then we would vote, right? That's what we said.
Okay, should we excuse ourselves for a minute?
No, you can move forward. It's fine. That was not our understanding.
Am I off base? I thought we concluded.
I thought we concluded too. But
Yeah,
if it was that, then we can have it.
then we didn't need to talk to Linda then.
Nope.
We didn't need to talk to Linda.
My understanding was that we did and it was resolved.
Please proceed.
Do I have a motion? I think
So-
we had a motion open.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second, yeah.
Thank you. Roll call?
Aye.
Mr. Chang, Mr. Sung,
Aye.
Ms. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan,
Aye.
and Mrs. Gill, aye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So tonight we have a party.
Yeah.
Having a party.
Oh, does anybody know where Dr. Linda live? You know, just in case she doesn't show until 2030.
Now I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Rose to request the Board of Education's authority to remove the lockers at Huntington Middle School and San Marino High School.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you again, President Gill. In my recent role as being the interim principal at the middle school, there were some things that I noticed while serving in that capacity that I think would help that school be a little more efficient and help with the overall aesthetics of the school. One of the things I noticed when I was there is lockers. The lockers, while some kids do utilize it, from an administrative standpoint, and so I want to clarify that I'm coming to you from an administrative standpoint, not from a parent perspective, not from a student perspective. The lockers do not provide a lot of value from an administrative perspective. I noticed on a daily basis that we were constantly getting calls requiring our custodians to have to go over and unjam the lockers for kids that or who couldn't open them or whatever. So it was pulling my employees away from their actual duties. There was constant trash, papers, food coming out of those things. They would just fall on the ground and be left. During the passing periods, it created a log jam. It didn't allow the flow of traffic through there as kids were constantly bumping into each other. It also added to our tardy problems in the morning. When kids would show up, they had to go then to their lockers. Along the top of it, because the lockers kind of jut out, it just collects dust and dirt. So there was just a lot of things from that perspective. So I did take a survey of the staff because I wanted to know what they thought. And the staff did share with me, there's about 25% of them that responded that they are very connected to the lockers. So that's 25% of the respondents. And so in complete transparency, then there was about another 40% that was like, yeah, I like them, but it's not the end of the world, but I like them. So so you had about 65% that saw value in the lockers from a teacher's perspective. Now, in saying that, once the survey went out, a few of the teachers came to me and said, oh my gosh, until you brought it up, I've never really noticed. And when they went out into the hallways, they said, I'm getting bumped, it's crazy. And so jokingly, I said, oh, did I convert you? And they said, oh, yes, I am converted. So I would have changed my vote had I done that. So that's where the teachers stand. It also is causing an issue as far as some of the rules that campus holds with the backpacks and not being allowed to have backpacks on campus and when can you have them and not. And so I've heard stories of families they have a backpack that they then have to bring another smaller backpack so they can put everything into the smaller backpack to then make it into the classroom. Or they bring a giant duffel bag and bring that to the classroom, which somehow is allowed, but yet the backpacks are not. So it would be cleaner, easier, I think better for our students. I know one of the concerns some of the concerns that were brought was the rolling backpacks, that they take up a lot of space. They're worried about space in the classroom, which is a legit concern. I know many schools, the rolling backpacks don't come in the classroom because they are so big. They were worried about cell phones. I shared that at my former school, we had no lockers and we had no problems with the cell phones. The rule was the cell phone had to stay in the backpack, just as if you would keep it in the locker. And then they were also concerned about, safety wise, if anything was in their backpacks, it would then be more accessible to the students. And then I also I thought it would be helpful. I reached out to our neighboring districts and asked them, how many of you have middle school lockers and how many of you have high school lockers? All but one do not have middle school lockers. The only one that responded to my survey was South Pasadena, who said they have lockers at their middle school. Every other school does not have lockers at their middle school that responded. And then for the high school, it was about 60% of them do not have lockers. And so with that, so then I thought, oh, well, as the principal, can I just make this decision? And so I think it's important that our board policy 7,000 states that the board shall strive to have a school facilities master plan in place and regularly reviewed in light of the district's educational goals. And in accordance, the board shall approve additions or major alterations to existing buildings. And so removal of student locker would be considered a major alteration to the building. So that's why I'm bringing it to the board. I would then contacted legal about, are we opening ourselves up to any liability if we were to remove the lockers? And they said, actually, you would be reducing your liability. It would be more beneficial for you not to have the lockers because of things like drugs, weapons, that type of stuff.
So the those locker at the high school is that the what we mentioned at the Grand Nine? You know, they have a boy and a girl locker. Or they
No, this would be in the hallways by the
Oh, in the
classrooms.
hallway.
Not in I'm not talking in the athletic, in the gym, or I mean in the dressing room. I'm not
So
talking-
later, for the bond spending, is that we still have a locker at the restroom or no more?
For
Before we go into
athletic
talk about-
facilities, there are generally lockers, but I think what Dr. Rose is referring to are the lockers that are in the hallways.
Yeah, just the hallway lockers.
And you have a plan for what goes there after?
So for the middle school, they're just pretty much pushed up against the wall. So the idea would be to remove them and then just re-stucco, resurface it so it matches, maybe repaint it, clean it up. For the high school, to be honest, no, I do not. I was looking at it. The idea originally came to me from my capacity at the middle school. The high school is a little different because their hallways are a little bit wider. So I don't know and I haven't been on the campus to see what kind of.
Right. As far as the middle school, I was wondering if you were going the direction of hooks like the elementary school. So if the teachers are concerned about tripping.
When I brought it up in a staff meeting, we did bring up other solutions of things like hooks that could maybe be a bridge or a gap, for some of them. Maybe not putting a row of 30 hooks, but maybe having 5 or 6 out there for those students who maybe need it or anything like that. Could be a possible solution. So yes, that was discussed with the staff. So it is.
Is it possible that we can separate the middle school and high school in 2 separate actions? Because I have different opinion about the middle school versus high school. So that's the reason why. I think middle school, I kind of agree with you that we probably don't need a locker because they don't have the heavy bag like textbooks or whatever. But high school, I kind of noticed a lot of kids when I was in high school, and we had a lot of textbooks in there, and we need some sort of locker to organize those kind of things.
That would be completely up to the board.
I do know that it's California state law that you have to have a set of textbooks in your classroom and then one to go home. So they're not needed to carry heavy books.
So you don't
So
have
like-
heavy textbook in?
No, so like my daughter's physics book stays home. They have the physics book in their classroom. So there's a class.
Okay.
There's a class.
I'm outdated, so that's why it was my time now.
And most of it's on the laptop, really. So it's not very heavy.
Thank you, Dr. Rose. I think it's a good idea in terms of middle school. It's a safety issue too.
And anecdotally, a lot of the parents have shared that they would like to see it.
What about the high school principal? How has he weighed in on it?
I have not asked him. Originally, this was.
He did. I thought he did.
It originally came up as a middle school issue. And then we thought, well, if we're doing it, maybe we should do it for both the middle school and the high.
Can we just make a decision
We can
first and?
Maybe it's better to do it separately.
I think you should at
We
this point,
can.
if you don't know, if you haven't heard from him.
I heard from him, but I would like him to, formally tell you probably. So Can we do a motion that just relates to the middle school then? Okay. Is there a motion to approve? Yes, it is. Is there a motion to approve the removal of the lockers at Huntington Middle School?
Motion to approve?
Is that we need to change the agenda first?
No.
Oh,
No?
I mean, it's
We
in
did
there.
discuss this in an information item before.
No, this is the first time we brought this up.
But we were told that you don't need it.
We were told that you don't need it.
So we don't have to do information first and then bring it back as action. You can do it in one sitting.
What's the cost of it?
I've asked our director of maintenance to get me an estimate because I figured you would be asking that question. And
No, you didn't figure I was going to.
and so he told me it will come in Thursday, so it is not here in time for today.
There was a motion.
Second,
Yeah, motion.
second,
Thank you. Roll call.
Aye.
Mr. Chang?
Aye.
Mr. Sung?
Aye.
Ms. Lamb?
aye.
Mrs. Ryan? Aye. And Mrs. Gill? Aye. Thank you. And we will bring back San Marino High School locker issue at a future agenda. Thank you. Item 13, Board Superintendent discussion items.
None for me, thank you.
Thank you so much. Then I would like to adjourn this meeting at 5:29.